Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Courtside Soundoff podcast. Once again, I'm Josh Evanoff. As always, welcome by the one and only man of the hour, too sweet to be sour. It is Angel Ortega. A lot of stuff to talk about this week. Obviously, we got UFC Charlotte, UFC Vegas, KSI's return, Francis Ngannou, and more. Before we get into all of that, we're brought to you by two fantastic sponsors of the show, Rogue Energy and ELYXR. RogueEnergy.com, code SOUNDOFF at checkout for 10% of all your energy needs to keep me fueled up, to keep me going through my day, making sure I'm being active in the gym, at home, playing video games, or at work. Rogue Energy has my back, and they have yours. Code SOUNDOFF for 10% off. ELYXR, meanwhile, the exact opposite. They'll get you really high with Delta 8, 9, 10 HHC products. They have gels, joints, pens. They got it all. And for code SOUNDOFF, you can get 10% off all of your Delta 8 needs. Angel, last Saturday night from Charlotte, North Carolina, the big boys going head-to-head in the Spectrum Center in the main event, Jailton Almeida. Jailton Almeida, man, what can you say? I mean, between Jailton Almeida and John Jones, the heavyweight division has just been getting brutalized, like, straight up just embarrassed lately, man, with just the most basic wrestling. In the end, he ends up getting the win, not even hit. Submission rear naked choke 3 minutes into the first round. Jailton Almeida still only 2 significant strikes in his UFC career thus far. What do you think, man? Obviously, he's now in title contention, not that far away from it. What do you think?
No, I mean, another impressive performance. Kind of what I expected, though. I just didn't know how soon it'd come. First round, though. I mean, well done to him. Shot it on the takedown, took his time, capitalized on it, worked towards a finish, and ended up getting the submission in the end. Nice to see him moving up the ranking to the fast pace. He was a guy, though, that I was just like, this guy's special. Ever since I saw him in the Contender Series, I brought him up to you, and I was like, there's something about this guy. I don't know what it is, but I feel like he has this impressive skill set, and I just think that at some point he's going to do something. I don't know what it is. He could be a ranked fighter, and that might be it. He could be champion one day. I don't know. But he just had this it factor to him that just always made me go to him. And now he's ranked number 9 in the heavyweight division. He's bounced back and forth between 205 and heavyweight, so he's more than willing to fight in more than one weight class. So, you know, there's still options not just at heavyweight, but also at 205 that maybe he'd take as well. As far as who's next, Josh, he's ranked number 9 right now. Who would you like to see him fight next? Because he just broke into the top 10.
Yeah, I mean, off the top of my head, I'm going to pull up the rankings right now. I think that, I honestly want to see him fight just about anybody. I still think he needs one more big one. And I think I want to see him tested. And I think the fight to honestly make, I don't know if it's a hot take, I want to see him versus Curtis Blades whenever Curtis Blades gets healthy. I think, there's really only there's 3 wrestlers in the division max that are actually genuinely good, and Curtis Blades is one of those guys. Ideally, I would like to see Jailton Almeida versus Curtis Blades, man, just because I think Curtis, whether or not you like him, I don't know why fans have never really gotten behind Curtis Blades, they just haven't, but for that fight, you're going to see Jailton Almeida tested, and that's all we can really ask for at this point in time. The guy's taken 2 strikes total. 2. He's putting up Hamzat Chimaev numbers, dude. Like, it's insane at a weight class where people don't put up those sorts of numbers. Ideally, I think Curtis Blades. What do you think about that being a potential fight next, man? Do you think that's the right booking?
I think it's definitely an option. I don't know if that's the direction they'll go in, though, knowing the UFC. For some reason, I feel like they might draw it out. Maybe throw a Volkov at him, a Spivak potentially. Those are 2 guys ranked right above him. If they absolutely hate Tai Tuivasa, maybe Tai Tuivasa. But I feel like there's other options there as well at this time. Or maybe even, no one's even put it up, a Cyril Gahn. You know?
Cyril Gahn would be interesting.
They want to say it now rather than later, then yeah.
Yeah, Cyril Gahn, I haven't heard anything about him since he got basically run over by John Jones and basically shit his pants. I don't have much of an interest in that fight personally because I know how it will go. You know, like it's just. I mean,
we don't know what he's been working at. Maybe he's been in Dagestan all this time. Maybe that's why we haven't seen him.
Maybe Cyril Gahn has been out in Dagestan, but I don't know, man. It's like the old, you know, how many times, like, what's the definition of insanity? He's just doing the same thing over and over and over again. You know, basically, poor Cyril Gahn going out there and just facing wrestler after wrestler. And whenever we kind of know what's going to happen, that'd be pretty funny. But, you know, regardless, I do think that there's multiple fights that they can make for Jailton Almeida. I think that he is one of those guys that's being positioned right now to be a future champion, or at the very least be in contention. So, we will have to see what happens there. Dude, co-main event, I feel like the co-main event generated more, I guess, talk than the main event did, but not for the right reasons. Johnny Walker ends up picking up a unanimous decision victory over Anthony Lionheart Smith, 29-28, 30-27, 30-27. This fight was weird, man. Basically, Smith just getting chopped down the whole time, and then in the third round, saying something along the lines of that Johnny Walker was attacking his family. I mean, what do you make of all this, man? I know that it basically that clip went viral. Some people were making fun of Anthony. Some people were like, did he never get over the PTSD of that whole home invasion incident? What do you think about the loss? And then there's also some speculation that he was going to retire after the fight.
It's weird, man. Everybody tried to analyze this so much. Everybody was like, you know, he hasn't gone over, you know, he's having PTSD right now, yada yada, this and that. I'm like, do you know, like, this is the most speculative shit I've ever seen during a fight. You could talk about a fighter's mental being completely off, and I feel like I would have made more sense about him just being like him trying to find some motivation, and I could have agreed with that, or trying to rise up, trying to get something out of himself because he noticed that the fight was slipping away, and it had been. But to go to the extent of being like, you know, this is very clearly, I'm just like, dude, no, don't even start this topic. Don't even try to put this out there. It was
sure? Are you sure, Angel?
It was a traumatic. It was a traumatic.
I went on WebMD and I looked up all the symptoms of PTSD.
Yeah, Josh, everybody's a doctor nowadays. I'm a fucking geek. I don't know if you know this, Josh, but I actually have a political science minor nowadays.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. I got a major in fucking culinary arts too, if you didn't know. Regardless,
I have a bachelor's in fuckonomics, Angel, so you can go ahead and continue.
But regardless, yeah, no, you see a lot of that shit, and I'm just like, I don't get why people are trying to make this point. Like, I just think, and like we talked about it before the show. I think he just came out cold. I think he kind of just couldn't get the ball rolling, and it was just a bad night, you know. And also, you got to think about how Johnny Walker's fought most of his career. Johnny Walker hadn't ever gotten a finish, or hadn't even gotten out of the first round for like a long time in his career. Even when he lost, right? I think Jamal Hill and the fucking what's the other one? Another guy who went to Bellator. I'm blanking on his name. Corey Anderson. It also happened. Yeah. Also happened in the first round. This is one of the only times in his career, one of the few times in his career, only times in his career where he went the full distance. And also, Johnny didn't fight what we had seen in the past, Johnny Walker. This is a very measured, safe, calculated Johnny Walker. I mean, that could have also been another thing that Anthony didn't expect. That could have completely thrown him off. And it's just like he's expecting something, and nothing's happening, and he's just mentally like frustrated. You know, he's just thrown off by it so hard that he's like, "What is going on?" You know, like the moment was just so different what he expected to. I feel like there's a lot of factors into this, whether or not it was any of what we had mentioned, or even that was mentioned by other people. Then we'll never know. But yeah, this is a rough fight for Anthony. I'm curious to see how he comes back and to see if there's any changes. But we also got to think about the fact that this guy was coming off an injury, was about to fight a different person before this, and had to wait. Didn't even know if he was going to get another opponent for a while. And he went from going to fight Jamal Hill, who Jamal Hill is not UFC champion, to Johnny Walker. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a very big factor. I'm not going to pretend to know anything about what happened with Anthony Smith, honestly. I have no clue. And I'm not going to try and speculate. I always thought it was pretty fucked up that a lot of people made fun of the home invasion incident, dude. Like, I don't give a fuck that you're a professional fighter. I want you to put yourself in that guy's shoes, dude. Like, that is scary. It doesn't matter, like, if you're qualified to handle it. It's still scary to have to try and meet that situation head on. And I saw some people making fun of him again after with that whole situation. I will admit that the situation was kind of funny from Johnny Walker's perspective. His reaction, he's like, "What? Huh? Like what?" Like, so that was pretty funny. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what happened with Anthony. I'm intrigued to see what he does next. There was some speculation that he was going to retire. It appears that that's not the case, and it seems that he's going to go ahead and fight on. On the case of Johnny Walker, I think, Dana afterwards saying that, he picked up a win, but he didn't really impress anybody. I don't think that's necessarily fair. I think Johnny Walker, ever since moving to SPG Ireland, I remember whenever he made that move, people shit on him, and people shit on John Kavanagh. And I was like, well, let's see what happens. And they're actually making it to where now he's calmed down, he's slowed down, he's filtering everything through, you know what I mean? Like, he's not just going out there, balls to the wall, I'm going to go knock this guy out right now, I'm going to do a crazy post-fight celebration, you know what I mean? Like, he's not that guy anymore. And he's having a lot of more success because of it. Great win by Johnny Walker. Intrigued to see what he does next. I mean, he's now ranked number 5, Angel. This is a guy that a couple of years ago we were talking about fighting for a title back in 2019. 4 years later, he's actually making his way up. Who do you think Johnny Walker should fight next at 205?
Man, fuck, that's a good question, Josh. Look, let me give you some thoughts here. Let me break down.
It's worth noting. We're going to get to this in the news section later, but UFC 291 was announced. Jan Blachowicz announced that he had not available options. They're going to be fighting in July.
A Rockets return fight could be good. Ankalaev fight could be good. And I feel like Ankalaev Walker title eliminator is a very probable option if they don't go, unless they give Ankalaev for some reason just title shot against Jamal Hill, which would be insane. I don't know if they would ever do that. And not give it to Yuri, then Yuri versus Johnny Walker. But I think the more likely option is Johnny Walker versus Magomed Ankalaev in a title eliminator, and potentially Jamal Hill, Yuri in the main event.
Yeah, I think that's relatively likely. I think Jamal versus Yuri is probably definitely next. I mean, I know that fight hasn't been scheduled, but they've been going back and forth for a while. I think Johnny Walker versus a couple of those names like you mentioned, Rogers, makes sense. I think Ankalaev makes sense. Ankalaev, who seemingly just fell off the face of the fucking planet after that draw against Jan Blachowicz, man. I mean, I've been so disappointed with that. I mean, I had such high hopes for that kid. And then, I mean, I'm sure he'll still come back, but I mean, 5 months later, and it's just not even, we haven't seen him, haven't heard anything from him. Disappointing. But, at the end of the day, big win by Johnny Walker. As far as the rest of the UFC Charlotte card goes, man, there was a couple of big wins here. Which ones do you most want to highlight?
I mean, we gotta talk about the newly ranked fighter at welterweight, Josh. No one else than Ian Gary.
The future,
Ian Machado Gary. Fuck, man, I've been, looking around. I keep up in the card community, and a lot of people are picking D-Rod for this one, not picking Ian Gary, but he's saying Ian Gary's gonna get the shit beat out of him. He's gonna get knocked out by D-Rod, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, guys, like, did you guys not watch Ian Gary's last performance? Like, he looked really fucking good. I don't think that's the case. I'm like, I thought it was a hard fight. I thought it was be one of the toughest fights of his career. You could argue that his first fight of his career was harder than this one. Yeah.
Yep.
Look, man, finish over D-Rod. Nice. I will say, I was surprised, Josh. I did not expect a UFC ranking after this. I thought he was going to have to fight one more and then be ranked. I was a little thrown off by that.
But wasn't D-Rod ranked?
No, not at the time.
Oh, okay. All right, never mind.
And he jumped up a few spots. Yeah, they pushed someone out and he went in. I'm pretty sure D-Rod was not ranked at the time. I could be wrong. But regardless, though, yeah. I mean, he laid out a 7-fight plan to the title, and now that he's ranked, I'm kind of like, is he going to literally fight everybody above him then? That's what I'm saying. Like, and that was 7 fights, including this fight. So it's 6 now. But even then, if he fought another fighter outside of the rankings, then it would have been 5 left to get to the title. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I could have, it made sense. I was like, all right, for a guy who's this young and has a very long career ahead of him, then yeah. So, but yeah, no, I mean, it's weird, man. I'll never understand the Ian Gary hate, Josh, and I don't know what it is. I can't process it through my head. I try to legitimately try to find where people are coming from, and I just can't seem to find it. I don't understand what's not likable about this kid. He has a fun fight style. He seems like a genuine guy. He has his own. He has I'd say a good sense of humor for the most part. Maybe a little dry humor every now and then too wouldn't hurt, right? But to mix it up. But yeah, no, I just don't see what it is in there to like, man. I feel like this kid has some very high superstar potential at some point, if not at least some star potential. And he already has the following behind him. So I don't get the hate. I brought it up the last few times we talked about him, and it still doesn't stop. And I think people after the fact were still talking shit too, which is weird to me because everybody was so sure about Ian Gary getting knocked out by D-Rod.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, admittedly, I was somewhere in the middle on this fight. I remember thinking at the time, I was like, stylistically, I think D-Rod should lose this fight, and I bet against D-Rod. Full disclosure, I bet on Ian Machado Gary. So I wasn't surprised when he picked up the win. I was surprised at how lopsided it was. I did not see that coming. And in terms of his being ranked, I mean, Ian Gary, he's interesting. I admittedly did not expect him to kind of continue climbing. I figured he was actually going to be one of those guys that took a step back, maybe suffered an upset loss. Maybe he just drops one. Like, for example, Raul Rosas Jr. just lost one to Christian Rodriguez. It happens, When you're a young prospect or coming up, one loss won't really kill you, especially if it's a close fight. And I thought that might be what happens here for Ian Gary. Instead, he goes out there and demolishes him, man. I mean, he said he wants Neil Magny next. I think that's a fun fight, and I think Neil Magny has positioned himself, whether intentionally or unintentionally, as being the gatekeeper to the top 10. He's not necessarily a top 5. Like, people say gatekeeper is just a blanket term. There's gatekeepers to the top 5, to the top 10, to the top 15, and Neil Magny is a perfect top 10 gatekeeper. Well, I hope they book it. I really do hope they book it. I think we're going to see Ian Gary tested against Neil Magny.
And that is the ultimate test fight right now. Because Neil Magny is that guy. It's funny, Josh. I was just now thinking about it. Do you remember when Ian Gary first got signed to the UFC? I remember we talked about it. I was like, "Fuck, dude, he just got signed," and I'm like, "That's so hype." And then I don't know if it was me or you, but for some reason I feel like it was you. You're like, "Dude, I think it's too soon. I think he's just too young." Because Ian Gary was what, 20, 21 at the time when he got signed to the UFC?
Around that age, yeah.
Yeah, and it was just like, all right. And it was after his Cage Warriors win, and it was that I remember I seen that all over Instagram and that picture of him in his green shorts, with all his sponsors way back when. And then he makes his UFC debut, and it just seems like it's kind of flown by, man. And it's been a good journey, and it's been a upwards trajectory. At some point, like you said, I expected it to kind of slow down a bit, and it hasn't seemed to at all. And his life hasn't slowed down at all either. I mean, the guy's gotten, I believe, married/engaged, had a child in that time, and now he's a ranked UFC fighter. Mm-hmm. He's fought on pay-per-views. Like, it's been a heck of a journey and a lot of pressure for a young man who I feel like is still growing and getting better as a fighter. And as a person too, I'm sure. It's been a wild ride, man. I honestly love the Ian Gary journey, and it's been fun. And I hope I'm curious to see where it goes and where it peaks at, and if it ever does peak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, the thing about Ian Gary is you kind of mentioned, like, you don't want to think about his journey being that long, or you don't want to think about it kind of happening as quickly as it has. But like, he's had a low key journey. Like, occasionally somebody he'll pop up and everybody will be like, "Well, fuck that kid," people just hate him. And I think it's because that early introduction, whenever he was, 20, 21, kind of obnoxious, But, he's matured it's been multiple years since he first came in, so he has matured, I'm interested to see what he does next. I think the fact that he's had this quiet journey where you don't really think about the fact that he's kind of been there and he's been improving. He's been getting these quiet wins. This is the first one where everybody went, "Oh shit!" Like, Ian Gary is for real. And we'll see what happens next. I think the Neil Magny fight is the way to go. But Ian Gary was not the only guy that picked up a big win on Saturday. Your highlighted fighter, Carlos Olberg, knocked out Ilhor Peteria. I mean, I was not surprised at all. I mean, I did not mean to be mean to this guy, but I said it on the show last week. I was like, this fight's not even going to be close.
It's crazy because I was like, I don't know if it is or isn't. Like, I didn't know what was going to happen. So when you said it to me, I'm like, oh, Josh just jinxed it. I'm not even going to lie to you. That's what
really? I was so sure this fight was going to be over in one.
I mean, I thought Carlos was going to win. I thought he was probably going to get finished, but I'm like, I don't know if he'll, I don't know what issues will come along the way. You know what I mean? Like, I'll tell you this. There's times where I've known a fighter's going to win. I've been 100% sure on it. But even then, I'm like, you never know what the other guy could do or what's going to happen. You know? Injuries, shit popping out, yada yada. Fucking girlfriend breaks up with you that morning type shit. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of factors that affect shit like that. So that's why I'm like, you just never know. Might start off slow. Maybe you ate something that didn't settle well with your stomach before the fight.
You went to Chipotle before, you know?
Some shit like that. Regardless, fuck, dude, that'd be the terrible option to go before a fight. Well, not the worst, but regardless, that's besides the point. Yeah, he got the win. Fuck, dude, I feel like he's so close to ranking. He's a little older, you know? He's not old, but he's a little older when it comes to coming into fighting. He was in his 30s, I believe, or at 30 when he joined. I remember Izzy mentioning like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be here next week watching my guy on the Contender Series. Y'all should go watch it. And Carlos getting that big finish and then the celebration and Izzy jumping up in the corner. Unforgettable, man. It's been a heck of a ride. Obviously, I can't remember if his debut was Kennedy or after that it was Kennedy. I'm pretty sure he had a win before that. And then he had the Kennedy loss, and ever since then he's picked up 2 or 3 wins. I'm curious to see what Carlos Ulberg's ceiling is. You know, I mentioned last week, I'm like, City Kickboxing has found a way to get this tight group of guys, and for some reason these guys can fight at a very high level with just these few little guys coming out of this gym. You gotta give a lot of credit to guy Eugene Berriman, dude, and kind of what he's done with his group of talent, because they are a special crowd. And, I don't know. I don't know what Carlos Ulberg's ceiling is. Could he be UFC champ? Could he be a ranked top 10 fighter at some point? I don't know, but I want to find that out soon. And like I said, for him, he has a lot of time, because at 205 we've seen it, man. Glover Teixeira, Jan Blachowicz, there's time, but you just never know when your time is going to be done, though.
Yeah, and ultimately, 32 years old. I mean, he's coming on at the right time. 32, seems to be hitting his prime, and I mean, he debuted with a loss. To Kenny Njoku, but at the same time, there was his 5th career fight. He's won 4 in a row since then, with 3 coming by the way of knockout. He's the real deal. I don't know if he'll be a champion, like you said. I don't know if he'll be top 10, top 5 material, but I want to find out, because this dude looks really explosive, and light heavyweight can use the juice. I mean, I like Johnny Walker, but Johnny Walker is ranked number 5. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if Carlos Ulberg will be that guy, but I want to find out. I think he's very, very good, and we'll see what happens, man, with his upcoming future. Also on the main card, Alex Morono submitting Tim Means. Alex Morono, another guy, which we just mentioned, funny enough, also 32 years old, also coming on. I mean, 5 wins in his last 6, and that 1 loss was that banger against Santiago Ponzinibbio.
On short notice.
Short notice, too. On the opposite end, shout out to the Dirty Bird Tim Means. 3 losses in a row. The worst stretch of his career. You don't really think about it. I hope to see him turn it around, man. I mean, he's the guy that you don't think about it, but he's been around here forever. I mean, King of the Cage back in 2005, putting on bangers against Spencer Fisher. You know what I mean? Like, Tim Means has been around in the game for a long time. 3 losses in a row. You know, he's getting into his late 30s now. We'll see what happens, man. But in terms of the prelims, what kind of performances do you want to go ahead and shout out?
There was a lot of finishes, man. There's obviously a few fights in there that were kind of like rough. But kind of the big one I wanted to bring up, and he mentioned him last week, was Brian Battle, man. Big comeback win after having a rough loss to Renat Frokinov. And look, let me tell you this right now, guys. This is the perfect guy that you can see. There's levels to this shit. Because he came in, and he had a good fight against Trayshawn Gore. Trayshawn did tag him a little bit because he has power, but Brian was winning that fight. A big win over Takashi Shoto with a head kick, kind of coming to sit, kind of reminiscent of Leon Edwards. And then you saw him fight a guy, Renat Frokinov, Russian fighter, 20-2, fucking machine, dominate him, beat the shit out of him on the ground. And then he comes in here against a guy in Gabe Green, gets him out of there in 14 seconds in the first round. Impressive as hell. He's had plenty of good performance in the UFC. Only 1 loss in there, and he has a lot of growth to himself. I mean, he didn't have a lot of professional fights going into tough. He had a decently sized AMI background, with like 8 or 9 fights. And now, you know, he's He's learning. He's getting better. He's 28 years old, so he's hitting his prime years. He has stuff to work on, obviously, like we saw in his fight before this. But fuck, man, hell of a way to bounce back after a loss and kind of getting that one out of there. And look, he didn't suffer, I'm assuming, a lot of damage. So I hope to see him there soon here in another 3 months. If I'm him, I'm asking for another fight.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And Brian Battle is my fighter to watch for this week. No, I mean, jokes aside, though, it was an incredible win by him, dude. I mean, he's a guy that you kind of laid out his whole story there. And coming off of tough, I wasn't entirely sure what his future was going to be. But, dude, he might end up being the guy that actually has the most potential. I mean, Andre's putting some big wins together. Obviously, we're still waiting to see him coming back. It's been, I think 6 months in his last fight. But Brian Battle, dude, I mean, he suffered his first career loss, the first UFC loss last time out. And if you're looking for a rebound win, I mean, a 14-second right hook knockout, that's the fucking way to do it, dude. Absurd win by Brian Battle. Excited to see what he does next. As far as the rest of the prelims go, we gotta shout out Matt the Immortal Brown, dude. Matt Brown is 42 years old. He has been fighting since fucking 2005, and he's still out here earning huge knockout wins like this one, dude. Give me your thoughts on Matt Brown's win over Court McGee, dude.
Fucking beautiful, man. Another finish. You might age, you might slow down, but the power doesn't leave you. It's the last thing to go, man.
I agree. And it was clean, dog. It was clean right hook and just sat him down and no follow-up shots needed. It was a beautiful win, man. Beautiful win. And Matt Brown, he tied Derek Lewis for most knockout wins in UFC history with 13. Matt Brown's not a guy I thought would have so much longevity, but he has, and props to him for that. Rest of the card, I mean, Douglas Silva Andrade picked up a win. Carter Williams defeating our boy Chase Sherman. That was it for him in the UFC. Got released yesterday.
Not the only one, though.
No, he was not. Also, Jessica Rose Clark, as well as Kim Jae-on. All three of them lost on UFC Charlotte, and the UFC literally wasted a grand total of 3 days before giving them their walking papers. Damn, it's a tough business, man.
But I mean, if you look at those guys, the gals' record, I mean, you kind of understand where it's coming from,
No, I get it. I absolutely get it.
Yeah, not to disrespect them, but I mean, it makes sense. Obviously, rough for them. Obviously, I think a lot of good things came out of this card, and it was obviously sad for the guys who ended up leaving. But that's just how this business goes, man. It's cutthroat.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That is true. And overall, though, let me just kind of redirect back to the card. It was a fun one. But we do have another card coming up this weekend, UFC Vegas 73. We're going back to the Apex for a women's strawweight main event between Mackenzie Dern and Angela Hill. Mackenzie Dern, obviously the jiu-jitsu ace, coming off a loss to Yan Xiaonan by majority decision. She's had a couple of close fights, man, recently. Ever since she moved up to the top level in April 2021, she's proved that she's belonged. She submitted Nina Nunes, who I believe is top 5 at the time. And then she lost Marina Rodriguez, a close decision, beat Tisha Torres, another close decision, lost to Yan Xiaonan, another close decision. Taking on Angela Hill, much of the same story. Overkill, fought to a decision in her last, 8 fights. The vast majority of those were split decisions. Is running a 2-fight winning streak. Emily Ducote and Lupita Godinez, who funnily enough are fighting on the undercard here. What do you think about this main event, man? It was a short notice one. Originally, it was going to be Raquel Pennington and Irene Aldana who were going to make an event. Aldana has since received a short notice title shot against Amanda Nunes.
Yep. Look, man, kind of to hop right into it. I know I cut you off a little bit there. I think Mackenzie Dern is the gal for this fight right now. We've seen Angela Hill be submitted in the past. It's been quite a while, though. Obviously, we kind of talked in the pre-show about who they were. Rose Namajunas, Carla Esparza, Randa Marcos. Quite a while ago now. None of them in recent time. I believe those were the 3. I could have mixed it up. There could be one of those in there that's wrong. A lot of decisions coming the way of Angela Hill. Some that should have been hers, and some of them who probably, you could argue, should have been hers. But that's just kind of been the recent journey of Angela Hill's professional fight career. Look, the big thing for me, this is every time I think Mackenzie fights, is like, hey, we know what you can do. Can you get it to the ground? Okay, have your takedowns have gone and, have they become more dynamic? Have you gotten more trips? What are your options? Working your striking into your takedowns. And one thing that I'm very happy, and we've seen it since her return, is she's kind of found more comfort in the stand-up, being able to stand with her opponent. And, but it's a matter of mixing it all together and making it work. If she can kind of replicate some stuff that Verna Jandiroba did against Angela Hill, I could definitely see a path to victory with Mackenzie Dern here. For Angela Hill, obviously she knows what she's got to do. Avoid the ground, be proactive, have output, make the fight as yours as much as possible. Never let it be Mackenzie's, and don't let the scorecards dictate this fight if you can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you laid it out there pretty well. You mentioned that if Mackenzie Dern can follow somewhat of a similar game plan to Verna Jandiroba, she'll have a path to victory. I think she is, and I'm actually going to take Mackenzie Dern here to get the win. I don't know how, though. That's kind of the interesting thing. It's a very, I saw some people shitting on this main event. I think this fight's incredibly compelling, dude. For 5 rounds, I'm very interested to see how this one goes. I'm going to take Mackenzie Dern here, very slightly, gun to my head type of decision. But I think Angela Hill, dude, she kind of fell into this fight. Not necessarily fell in because she won 2 in a row, and it made sense for her to get a top, step up. But the fact that this is a main event, it's a bigger fight now, and she kind of fell into this one. She's only ranked, correctly, she's ranked 14th, dude. So,
wow.
According to her wiki, she may have moved up within the last week, but according to her wiki, which was updated at the start of the month, she was number 14. Mackenzie Dern ranked number 8. There's a big chance for Angela Hill to jump back into the top of the division here with a win. Do you think she'll be able to get that one?
I don't believe so, man. I think Mackenzie Dern's going to get this one done. I will say, though, do not be surprised if Angela Hill sneaks this one out with a decision win.
Yeah, same page here. I think this is a very winnable fight for Angela Hill. Very, very winnable. So we'll see what happens there. Co-main event, dude. Very interesting fight. Edmen Shahbazyan, who 25 years old, still a relatively young prospect, even considering his rough losing streak there. He did come off a win over Delcha Lemgulia in December, knockout win. That one ended a 3-fight losing streak, taking on Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, 29 years old, riding a 3-fight winning streak. Marc-Andre Barriault, Josh Fromm, and Rodolfo Vieira. Obviously a lower step down in competition for, Shahbazyan's last fight and obviously this one. But Anthony Hernandez is still a dog, man. What do you think about this fight?
No, Anthony Hernandez is definitely a live dog, man. Has a lot of jiu-jitsu abilities, as we've seen. And obviously he took Rodolfo Vieira's neck, man. He got a submission over win. Massive upset. Crazy money made on that if you bet on Fluffy Hernandez via submission. For me, man, I think the big thing is that Edmen Shahbazyan has taken the decision to move away from the gym he's at, go to Extreme that he was at, and go to Extreme Couture, and we've seen him benefit him. He looked great in his last fight against Dalcha Lumingbula. Kind of rough. I tried, man. I tried. He had a rough out against Nazarene Imamov, Jack Hermanson, Derek Brunson before that. For me, I just thought those fights were too much too soon for a young kid. You got to keep in mind, man, Edmen Shahbazyan's only 25. He turned 25 last year. He has a very, very long career ahead of him, and he's a very good talent who had gotten a very impressive win in Brad Tavares before going into those harder fights afterwards. I think he's going to come back and get another big one against Anthony Hernandez. I know Anthony Hernandez is running his own win streak, but Edmen Shahbazyan has to show why he was the young prospect in this division.
Yeah, that's similar to how I fall on this fight. I'm surprised that Shahbazyan is an underdog. I like Anthony Hernandez, but I haven't seen that Anthony Hernandez can fight at the top level of the division. I've seen that Edmen Shahbazyan can. Now, can he consistently stay there in his early 20s? No, which is why this fight's happening. But I think that he has the greater heights. I think Anthony Hernandez has had a couple of nice wins, but I don't think it's going to be enough. I'm going to go ahead and take Edmen Shahbazyan here to go and pick up the win. But it's a very close fight, and there's also a bunch of interesting fights lower on the card, man. Which fights do you most want to talk about?
Man, we got to talk about Andre Fialho, Joaquin Buckley, Josh. We're getting spoiled with this one. The official 170 debut of Joaquin Buckley in the UFC. Andre Fialho was a guy, man, who came in hot into UFC, man. There's 4 or 5 fights in 6 months, something crazy like that. Honestly, I'm exaggerating a little bit here, but it was a wild start to the career, man. We're talking about a fight opening up against Michel Pereira, following it up with a win over Miguel Baez, Cameron Vadkamp, Jake Matthews, And we got a little 5-month break in there because, fighting every, a month apart was a little too much. And, we got to fight against Muslim Salikov, which ending in a spinning back kick. Sick like highlight finish. Running a 2-fight losing streak. Let's see if he can bounce back, man, because he wasn't looking bad in his Michelle Pahea fight. The Jacob Matthew one was looking, it was looking all right. Muslim Salikov one wasn't going bad until the finish came. So let's kind of see if Andre Fiala can bounce back in this one against Joaquin Buckley. But even then, Joaquin Buckley trying to make a statement at 170 after leaving 185.
Yeah, I mean, you highlighted that fight. Obviously, going to be a banger, dude. And one thing I want to go ahead and note, Joaquin Buckley. Oh shit! I just had it. Never mind. I was gonna say something I recently read about Joaquin Buckley, but now I lost it. Never mind. But regardless, the rest of the UFC Charlotte card, top to bottom, is pretty fun. One fight I do want to go ahead and highlight: Emily Ducote, Lupita Godinez, which I actually did, funnily enough, just mention because they both lost to Angela Hill in their recent fights. That one's gonna be a banger, dude. Emily Ducote, she is coming off that loss to Angela Hill, but she won 4 fights in a row and Invicta before that. One in the UFC, obviously, against Jessica Penne. Lupita Godinez, Loopy, becoming a fan favorite in my heart. I'll put it like that. I don't know if everybody else is a fan of Loopy, but Angel, are you a fan of Loopy?
Yeah, I like watching her fight.
Yeah. Who doesn't like Loopy, dude? Everybody, she fights all the time. Always fun, always out there putting on a show. She's gonna be back. Looking at the rest of the card, you and me disagree on this one. Hyaster Mashasete taking on Veslev Borishev. That's going to be a fun fight. Low-key banger on the main card. Both those guys have lost a couple of fights recently. They both need the win. And, for each of our betting accounts. I mean, I can't remember. Did you put any scratch on Borishev or not?
I might have on one of my parlays.
Yeah, so there we go. So I have Mashate. So we'll see which of us loses money over the weekend.
One of us will 100%. I mean, Josh, you could, go to a no contest.
Oh, and then the parlay is saved.
Right.
Like Jan Blachowicz versus Magomed Ankalaev. I wanted Ankalaev to win, but whenever it was a draw, it's just, I can't complain too much. Rest of the card: Carlos Fea, Michael Johnson, 2 bets going at it. The prelims, honestly, more interesting to me than a couple of those fights on the main card. Carolina Kokavevich taking on Vanessa Diamopoulos. Vanessa Diamopoulos got a big highlight on the UFC channel due to her her prior job as an exotic dancer. I'm trying to not say the other term to be respectful. She was an exotic dancer before getting to the UFC. They gave her a whole highlight package on the channel, so that shows that they see something in Vanessa Diamopoulos, Angel. What do you think about her return?
No, yeah. I mean, she got a lot of attention with her post-fight interviews, obviously her story and talking about that openly and just being very comfortable about it. And she's actually gotten some wins within the UFC, so there you go. I mean, it's kind of the perfect mash right there. But kind of to take the light a little bit away from you, Josh, I'm going to give my highlight fighter of the week going into the card is no other than Chase Hooper, the Dream. No longer the teenage dream, just the Dream. Making his move up to 155 to fight UFC, I guess not really a UFC newcomer because he already has 1 fight under. Nick Fiore, 6-1. Chase Hooper, I saw on his Instagram, he's been putting in that work in the gym, lifting those weights, trying to build up his body for 155. Saw some pictures of Michael Chiesa, maybe working out there in Illinois. Maybe he's put some work in with Juliana Pena as well. Bilal Muhammad, there's a lot of good fights in the Chicago, Illinois area. So, obviously, I'm assuming he's trying to work on his takedowns and wrestling going forward. I'm excited to see, man, how's Chase going to look after his little fight skid there. Also, the move up to 155, how much better is he going to look? Or if at all, better in any way?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, he's a guy that's interesting, Chase Hooper. He's managed to, I gotta be honest with you, I did not expect Chase Hooper to last in the UFC. He came in, he got a couple of big wins, but after, I want to say the Steven Peterson fight, I was like, we'll see what happens. But then he ended up getting a big winner for Felipe Corrales, and he actually showed his striking. He got smashed last time by Steve Garcia, but Steve Garcia is actually putting together a run right now. So I'm interested to see what Chase Hooper does, man, in his return. Couple of other fights to go ahead and note. Orion Cosey versus Gilbert Urbina should be a banger. Ilir Latifi, Rodrigo Massimento. Natalie Sylvia taking on Victoria Leonardo. And then the return of Takashi Soto happening also on the prelims. There's a couple of nice fights here, man. I mean, it's not exactly the greatest card, you know? I mean, it's not anything that'll blow your hair back necessarily, but there are some, if you're a UFC fan, you got some stuff to look forward to on Saturday night. I'll put it like that. But, Angel, unless you have any closing thoughts, we do have some more recaps, but not in the UFC. We have one in the world of boxing, one in the world of Bellator. Because over the weekend, at the Wembley Arena in London, England, KSI taking on Joe Fournier in the main event of Misfits Boxing 07. KSI went full Muay Thai on his ass, man. He went full John Jones on him, man. Lands the elbow in the second round. Devastating knockout win. What'd you think?
Man, Josh, this was absolutely heartbreaking, you know?
Yeah.
There's no going, this was absolutely fucking heartbreaking because he was looking so good. And look, I remember the fight ended and at that moment when the finish happened, you couldn't tell that it was an elbow. He went down, you're like, oh fuck, what just happened?
Yeah.
What do you get him with? And, you know, everybody's, you know, they're trying to get the replay, you know, everybody's celebrating. It's going. All right, he tagged him. Wait. What the fuck? It was an elbow!
Fuck!
You're just, dude, utter disappointment. Absolute letdown. I don't even know what to say, man.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, I had the same reaction. I was watching it live and I was like, oh fuck, right hand. Oh my god, he killed him! Like, it's just the right, I thought it was a small right hook. You know, I mean, I think, so two things. I think, obviously, this fight's going to be overturned to a no contest, as it should be. But people act like it's one thing or the other. Like, sometimes I feel like people just can't use critical thinking. Like, two things can be true at the same time. Like, this fight should be a no contest because the elbow landed, but also, JJ was clearly winning the fight. He had just rocked him in the finishing sequence. And it was an accidental elbow that only happened because Joe Fournier was trying to clinch when JJ was charging in. Like, one thing led to another. It is what it is. I'm not overly angry about it. I don't understand that people that are overly angry about it. I mean, I don't know, man. I think it sucks that that's the way it went. I think that we all kind of – I was iffy on if Joe Fournier could win this fight or not. Admittedly, I wasn't sure. I mean, I thought that he had some talent, but – and obviously he had the record and yada, 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 but he was older. And there wasn't anything that he showed me on fight night that made me think that fight was going to go any differently. You know? That being said, he ended up staying in the ring and had a face-off with Tommy Fury afterwards, man. Is that the fight that you want to see? Is that the fight to make?
I don't know if we're going to really get that or not. I mean, it's possible. But I mean, if JJ wants it, then so be it, man. If he could do something against Tommy Fury that Jake couldn't, then sure. But my big thing is like, dude, one thing that no one's ever thought about is like JJ has not fought like at any weight class here what Jake fights. Like what we said, the big thing for me, Jake doesn't, or JJ's not. I think I said Jake is what I really meant to say. JJ. JJ does not fight at the weight class that Jake fights. So many J's, dude. This shit is so hard. Jesus Christ. That is the big thing for me. JJ is a lighter fighter. He's supposed to fight at a lighter weight class. I think that's where his cardio shines the most, and he's able to have the most output, better than fighting at a higher weight class. I think I don't have it pulled up right here, but for me, that's always been the big thing that no one ever mentions, is the weight class. And who knows, if JJ can bring down Tommy Fury in weight and do his whole no hydration clause and pull the fucking whole boxing move, then maybe he has a chance of doing something here. Is it exactly kind of what I want next? I don't know, man. I really don't know what I want to see for JJ next. I think any option at this point, I want to see him be active. I want to see him be in there and get reps against guys that will give him a hard time. I think Joe Fournier was an interesting one because it was a guy who was older and had some experience. And like I said, I tried to compare it last week to kind of the Ben Askren, but not different. It was different because Ben didn't have any striking, and Joe had actually boxed and had some understanding of boxing. So I kind of try to equate it to that. For me, I love to see JJ get some reps against someone who's a lower level than, or a higher level than Joe Fournier, or some other guy like Anderson Silva, someone with who will actually test JJ, kind of how Jake had to dig a little deep when he was fighting Anderson Silva.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, this is not going to be the case of him having to dig deep, because if he fights Tommy Fury, he's just not going to beat him, you know?
I mean, we never know. We never know. I mean, that's
No, I know. We never know. And at this low level of combat, basically anything can happen. But I mean, I'd pick Tommy. I think Tommy Fury wins that fight 9 out of 10 times. Similar to the Jake Paul fight as well. You know. I just think he's an actual boxer, and I think that.
Also, but like I told you, the other thing is those guys aren't in the same weight class, which is the big thing for me. It's something that never gets mentioned, ever.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, that's because weight classes aren't really a real thing in influencer boxing. You know, they're not really They can meet in the middle. They always meet in the middle because it's
they try to for the most part. Yeah, I'd say.
Yeah, because there's never been a fight that's major enough for them to have to try and meet to have the problem of meeting in the middle, either because of a title or. You know, some of those other reasons why that has to happen in boxing. I don't think the weight's an issue at all. I think the only actual issue is that they're going to have to get sanctioned.
Well, yeah.
Because Misfits is sanctioned by the PBA. And people say the PBA is not a real they're a real organization, they're a real sanctioning body. If you fight in the US, they're sanctioned by PBA and it shows up on BoxRec. But the UK is much more strict about the way they sanction boxing events, which is why the British Boxing Board commissions handles just about everything, and that's why Misfits fights in the UK don't show up on BoxRec, if that makes sense. But essentially, they're probably going to have to go through the British Boxing Board Commission to make that fight happen, if they want it on both their pro records, and I know that they're pretty iffy about sanctioning people with, such little experience. So that's why I don't know if that fight will happen. But, that being said, I think that if you're looking at what's next, I think it's the most likely fight for JJ. Because who else would he fight, dude? I mean, Jake versus Nate's done. I mean, that's a done deal. And, who else could KSI fight? A Joe Fournier rematch? But I don't know how much interest there is for that.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, they could make it happen, but if they actually do or don't, I don't know. Yeah. They're not wrong. They're not wrong about that. But yeah, no, I don't know what the next option is. I feel like before this fight, we knew there was a few options. We could have seen him doing a different influencer. Obviously, threw Joe Fournier out there, but I wasn't convinced on it, and it ended up happening. Now, I don't know. Because like I'm saying, I think he needs to get some time in there, some experience. If they actually want JJ to succeed going forward, and actually box Jake and beat him, they need to get him in there and get him some reps. In the gym and all that, and this new style and everything he's showing. And, it's funny, man. Last time he got that finish, and it was reminiscent, it was funny because we saw a bunch of highlights of him being compared to MVP. Fucking, we get there on fight night, and who's in the fucking corner? No one else, no other guy than fucking Michael Venom fucking Page. So, I mean, we see where the style came from and where the inspiration's being drawn.
Yeah. One quick thing I want to actually ask you, slightly off topic. I see people show on KSI's boxing technique all the time. What do you think about that? What do you think about his sort of improvement and the fact that he's always so wild and so on and so forth?
It's crazy. He looks so different and odd now compared to when he first started, but I feel he looks significantly better with this unique style than when he first started.
Mm-hmm. That's, what's interesting is I kind of agree, but I also feel like people that say that are kind of missing, people that shit on JJ's boxing technique, I don't want to say they're missing the point, but they're kind of missing the point. You know what I mean? I think for his style, he was never going to be a fucking, an actual boxer. You can't learn that stuff in your mid-20s. And it's the same thing for Jake Paul. Jake Paul's gotten further than I expected, him trying to become a legitimate boxer. But KSI was never going to happen for him. So they're letting him use his athleticism. They're letting him use his sort of unorthodox style, and it's working better for him than I think if he tried to go the Jake Paul style of acting and fighting like an actual boxer. You know?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I don't know, man.
And there's been guys at the high level who've had been unique and found their own success by being different, you know, obviously. And this is a lower level, man. You know, people are always going to expect the traditional and normal. So there's nothing wrong with being different and unique and making it work to your assets. And that's what he's doing. You know what I mean? Like, when he came out, when he came out, I was like, what the fuck? You know, I wasn't hating on it. I don't know. They might have some plot, you know. And then when I saw MVP, it made more sense. But I'm like, I mean, shit, it's worked the last 3 fights. So, it's functional to him right now. Whatever he'll have to change, he'll have to change. But as long as it works for what they're doing, then what's the issue? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And the thing is, like, people are saying, like, he's going to get hurt one of these days. Like, yeah, but JJ has never said that he wants to become a world champion. He's not doing the Jake Paul strategy of, I'm going to fuck up this boxing champion and Arthur Beterbiev, you're a bitch. You know, like, he's never said that. He's just, I want to fight Jake Paul.
And on top of that, he's actually made fun of Jake for saying stuff like that.
Exactly.
He's like, dude, what the fuck are you saying? Like, do you really think you're gonna beat these guys? Like, never. I mean, you know, Jake at least is calling out people who've been in influencer boxing, you know?
Yeah, I agree. But, I mean, look, man, rest of the card, there was a big upset. Obviously, Saul Poppy lost to Anthony Taylor. Deji defeated Swarms. What fights do you most want to talk about, man?
I mean, for Deji, man, kind of what I expected. He looked good again. It was nice seeing him continue kind of this little win streak he has going. And going forward, I mean, who else are they going to give him? I mean, that's a big thing for me. I can't wait to see him get back in there finally now that he's finding some success and improved his boxing skills. And actually, for him who's younger than JJ, kind of building a more traditional boxing foundation, you know, and making it work, which is another big thing for me. And the whole Saul Poppy thing, I mean, I guess there were some issues with the contract and it was unsatisfied. I was really not a fan of this fight because it was only 3 rounds. And my other big thing that I told people was like, Pretty Boy's never been knocked out ever in his professional combat career, MMA or boxing. Mm-hmm. So if Saul Poppy does that, I'm like, that's a big highlight and it's a big fight for Saul Poppy. But I didn't even know it was 3 rounds going into the fight. I felt like they really dropped the ball letting that fight be 3 rounds. And no hate to Pretty Boy Taylor, man. He did what he had to do. Was it exciting? No. But he fought the proper style to get that W, man, and I gotta respect it. You know, he did what he had to do.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough, man. I generally just think that I feel like Salt Poppy is a victim of his own expectations. You know, I think this guy only took up boxing a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and he's earned some excellent wins. I mean, highlight reel knockouts. Beating the guy in Josh Bruckner who towered over him and had MMA experience. He's earned some excellent wins, but like I said, victim of his own expectations here. This fight was not that great and he did lose, but like it was not the worst loss in the world. He's gonna come back and I expect that he's still one of the greatest guys in this game, you know, and I think the round thing, apparently, that was a Salt Poppy decision. From what I've heard, that was Salt Poppy, if he wanted to fight more rounds, he wanted to get paid more money. And that did not end up happening. So that's why this fight was only 3 rounds. It is what it is. Disappointing to see it go down that way. But I think he's gonna be back, dude. And for Anthony Taylor, huge win, friend of the show. Shout out Pretty Boy, man. But Angel, I mean the real main event, if we're being completely honest, was the main event.
Oh my god.
The real main event was the main event of the prelims. Because Wings of Redemption goes out there, rapping his way to the ring. I mean, you want to talk about a fucking showman. Wraps his way to the ring as a 400-pound man and then gets a second round knockout win. This was basically the spectacle that I wanted it to be. It was a complete shit show, and I loved every second of it. What'd you think, man?
I hated every second of it, and I think everybody on Twitter hated every second of it too.
Yeah, it was great, right?
What? No, but I mean, like I told you, dude, I could have bet my life savings, my future money on Wings of Redemption winning this fight. I could have bet everything I own and everything I have in my position to win this, you know, to have Wings of Redemption win this fight.
And I would bet literally everything that I own.
And I was more than comfortable with that decision.
Yeah, I mean, what I will go ahead and say is that I did not expect it to be close. It was not close, and I mean, good for Wings, I guess, man. I mean, I saw people out there though. I saw people who were talking about this fight that like Keem basically made this fight because he wanted to get probably the Happy Punch logo out there, to get the name out there, and they succeeded, dude, because this fight did insane numbers. So, props to them. Props to both of them for stepping in there, man. I think just about everybody knew how this fight was going to go, but shout out to Boogie for showing up anyway, I guess. Yeah, man. Any closing thoughts on the KSI-Fournier card before we go ahead and move on?
I thought it was overall pretty good. You know, it was good, just good. But man, I think it just kind of got ruined with the ending of the main event, man. That's all it was, with the fucking elbow.
Yeah, fair enough, man. That's about how I feel as well. But there is more combat to go over. Bellator 296. We did not preview this card, so for that reason, we're not really going to spend much time on it. However, I do think we should talk about the main event, because in the main event, Fabian Edwards picking up a decision win over Gegard Mousasi, and then afterwards having a stare down with middleweight champion Johnny Eblen. That fight is next. What do you think about Fabian Edwards picking up the win? And also, Fabian Edwards now has the chance to join his brother Leon as a champion.
Oh, man. No, I mean, great win for Fabian. Did very well. His comeback has been very hard, man, ever since we've seen Austin Battenford back last year around this time. He needed this one to get right up there for that title shot opportunity, and he got it, man. A big win over the legend in Lyoto Machida, Charlie Ward, and another legend in Gegard Mousasi, setting him perfect for the Johnny Eblen fight in no other than Dublin, Ireland, Josh. All eyes on them. Big time fight. Overall performance was good. I feel like one thing that we finally saw in this fight was, dude, I think out of all, Gegard's, been a little older. He's been on that kind of like tail end of his career potentially, but still sticking on and doing very well and being hyper competitive. But this is the first time I ever saw Gegard, and I'm like, damn, I feel like now he officially is slow. Like he looks slower than Fabian, in my opinion. And I'm like, damn, this we're at that point. I think the age hit him in this fight.
Yeah, I mean, he looked slow. Like, that's the one thing that is unavoidable. And I hate to say it, dude, but this is the first time where I looked at Gegard Mousasi and I just went like, fuck, man. Like, that's it. Like, Gegard's in that stage of his career now. The stage. The stage, where he's too old, man. He's too old to compete, and he's just had so many fights at the top level. He's had 60 career fights. 60. He's won 49 of those motherfuckers, man. And for him to still be doing it at 37 years old, you gotta give him props, but dude, that clock was gonna run out sooner rather than later. But he did kind of fall off a cliff, man. I mean, to go from knocking out Austin Vanderford inside of a round to losing all 5 rounds against Johnny Eblen, and then losing nearly all 5 rounds to Fabian Edwards as well. Just incredibly disappointing, but that's the way it goes, man. That's life, and that's aging. As far as Bellator 296, the rest of the card goes, man, I mean, we saw Douglas Lima get back in the win column, Brett Primus pick up an upset win. Which fights do you most want to highlight?
Oh, man, dude. Saul Rogers, Davy Allen, ending in a fucking no contest. Fucking heartbreaking. It was an illegal strike, right? Afterwards, was this the one on the ground, right? Where he knees him on the ground, but Davy pulls up his knee so it kind of pushes into his head. Shitty way for it to end, man. Fucking heartbreaking. I thought Saul Rogers would get a nice win at 155, and it just gets ended in a no contest. It's just fucking heartbreaking. You mentioned in there Brent Bremen's getting an upset win over Monsieur Barnaby. Dude, that fight was a banger, and it was looking good. Brent Primus came on later on and was able to close it out. That one was heartbreaking for me, man. I thought Monsieur Barnaby was going to be the truth right now with 55. A lot of people being disappointed, man. A lot of people talking shit on Twitter, being like, man, biggest fraud, yada, yada, this, and that. I'm like, you got to think about it. The guy was away from the sport for a while, man. He signed with Bellator not so long after his win at Road FC tournament. Came in, got a huge win against Adam Pellicalotti, a submission ace himself, and he goes into this fight against Brent Primus in the tournament, and it just slips away, man. It is what it is. I'm sure we'll see him back. He goes out early in the first round of the tournament, but there's plenty of time to return to 155 and get a potential title shot.
Mm. Yeah, man. I mean, that was a big win for Brent Primus, and also just, I mean, honestly, more than anything, I was just happy to see him win. You know what I mean? I mean, this is a guy that wasn't even a part of the tournament. I remember whenever the tournament was announced, he kind of did an interview. He was like, "Man, I'm a former champion. I mean, you know, I'm still ranked, and they just forgot about me." So the fact that they went ahead and brought him after Sydney Outlaw tested positive, the fact that he got another win, huge. So happy for him, man. As far as the rest of the Bellator card goes, it was a solid one. This is in Paris, France. They even had the press conference at the Eiffel Tower, so that was pretty sick. Bellator, you know, like we talked about recently, they are not bigger than the UFC, and they know that. They've actually done a very good job at whenever they go somewhere, they make it feel like a big deal. Like this Paris card, whenever they go to Ireland, it's a big deal. Whenever they go to the UK, it's a big deal. So yeah, man, big card by them, and it was a fun one. But Angel, we do have the biggest news of the week, and luckily we waited. We normally film on Tuesday, we waited until Wednesday, and it's a good thing because the Predator, Francis Ngannou, the former UFC heavyweight champion, the first reigning champion to leave the UFC since BJ Penn 19 years ago. His free agency is now over. He has signed with the PFL. He retains his ability to box. Furthermore, he will help lead a fighter advocacy board, as well as help launch PFL Africa. And also, there's a little clause in there that his opponent, whoever faces him in the PFL, will make over $1 million against him automatically. In case somebody's curious, the UFC main event that we talked about, Jairzinho Rozenstruik and Jailton Almeida both made under $200,000. So I just feel like I should throw that out there. So what do you think about Big Fran? Go ahead and head it on over there, man. It's official now.
Look, man, I think one thing that people need to understand is, yes, you know, Francis got this big offer in the UFC, was getting these opportunities, had this chance of building a big legacy, but he wanted more, and people were like, well, he's being great. There's sometimes, you gotta think about it though. He wasn't being selfish. He was being selfish in some ways, but he was also trying to be selfless. Mm-hmm. And I don't think people understand that. And people want people to be selfish all the time. But sometimes it's better to be selfless and help other people so we all win. And I think that's what Francis Ngannou has done by going to the PFL.
I agree, and I also feel like a lot of the people that are mad about Ngannou's situation, they're not arguing in good faith. You know what I mean? Like, there's not an answer that I could give to somebody who hates Francis Ngannou and his decision to sign with the PFL that's going to change their mind. You know what I mean? Because before he signed, it was all about, like, you know, oh, he fumbled the bag, nobody's going to pay him. And now that we know he's getting paid, you know, 7 figures a fight, he's getting this, he's getting that, he's retaining his ability to box, he says he's going to have a boxing announcement soon. He's getting everything he wanted. Now it's, oh, your legacy's bad. Francis Ngannou's legacy is fine. That's a crazy thing to say. I've never understood. Like, people are now they're trying to turn it into like Francis Ngannou, his legacy. He hasn't beaten John Jones, or he's not going to have. Like, I thought it was money like 30 minutes ago. Now it's like his legacy's not good enough. Like, and his legacy's fine. I mean, you look at his resume: Cyril Gane, former champion; Stipe Miocic, former champion; Junior Dos Santos, former champion; Cain Velasquez, former champion; Alistair Overeem, former champion; Andrei Arlovsky, former champion. Like, his resume and his legacy's fine. And him leaving right now provides him a chance to build an even bigger legacy outside of the cage. Like, Angel, I mentioned critical thinking. I'm seeing a lot of people dunk on him right now. They're saying, who is he going to fight? And I think that's a fair question. You know, I've seen some people making the joke like he's going to fight Maurice Green or he's going to fight one of these other PFL heavyweights, which we know are not of a top-tier caliber. But the clause that everybody is missing in Francis Ngannou's contract is that his opponent will make over $1 million a fight. Over $1 million. I believe just about every single UFC heavyweight outside of the top ones, I'm talking John Jones, Stipe Miocic, they're not making $1 million. In fact, I just mentioned it, Jairzinho Rozenstruik and Jailton Almeida made a combined $230,000. Combined over the weekend. And if you fight Francis Ngannou in the PFL, you're guaranteed $1 million. So they're going to get somebody. The only question is who is he going to be? And for me, that's the big question. That's the thing I'm very interested in seeing. I mean, if you had to guess, like, who do you think, Francis Ngannou? Throw some potential names out there, man.
I mean, I think we're going to have to see some pro-promoting, Josh. Maybe some, crossover in sport, potentially. I know that's kind of out there, but hey, man, if money's on the line, people will go for it. And not even just co-promotion in other sports, but co-promotion with MMA. I mean, we could see, I don't know, Bellator. Bellator's already done some co-promotion. ONE FC's always talking a lot of stuff about potentially doing something. Let's see if that's true, Chatri. Let's see if that's true. I feel like there is.
He said he won't co-promote with anybody but the UFC because they're the two top ones and nothing else makes sense.
Well, we'll see, man. We'll see if that's true. Opportunities are put out there, and if you don't take them, then that's that's your own mistake. Mm-hmm. You could say that now, but hey, man, Dana said there'd never be women in the UFC. Dana said all these things, and look at what happened. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. There are a lot of things have been said from our lifetime in anything that something's not going to happen. This is not going to happen, and things have happened. So yeah. Don't ever take everything at face value.
I don't necessarily disagree.
I think they could bring people in. I mean, obviously, dude, who doesn't want to potentially fight for $1 million? I think you'd be a fool not to take that try. Fuck, dude, can I fight Francis? Like, I'll go down so quick, dude. Like, I'll go in there and, dude, it'll be some Ali Ghost Punch type shit, dude. Like, yeah, he didn't even see that shit coming, bro. Like, damn, he went down so quick.
Angel, you're not giving yourself enough confidence. Me personally, when I get in there with Francis Ngannou, I just see red, bro. I just see red, and that he won't be able to stop what I'm gonna do because I can't stop myself. You see, when I just get so amped up, I can't stop going. And Francis Ngannou, I will see you in the PFL. Smart cage trademark, like just. Yeah, I mean, jokes aside, they are going to get way more people to try. So, you see Rob Wilkinson called him out?
Jesus.
Razor Rob said, I don't give a fuck. I will fight Francis Ngannou. Razor Rob, dude.
Something that's typical as fuck.
That's honestly, like, just an absolute, like, what a gangster. I love Razor Rob, dude.
I think Rob.
One of my favorite guys in MMA right now, dead ass.
He just has to put on another 10 pounds, and he'll probably be a decent heavyweight.
Exactly. He's got the frame. What if he just shows up shredded, like 245?
Jesus Christ.
Anyways, man. Yeah, I mean, in terms of the Ngannou signing, there's not really much to add. We know that his debut is not going to happen until 2024.
Heartbreaking.
But that's also because he said he wants to have his first boxing match before then, and also allows for, PFL to go sign another big
So, Josh, does that mean that Francis Ngannou will compete in boxing at least at the latest by December of 2023? Is that what you're telling me, Josh?
I'm telling you that will likely happen. In boxing, Josh, nothing is guaranteed. Nothing is guaranteed, but.
You know what I have right now? A phoner.
Are you rock hard with emotion right now?
Yes. I mean, shit. I'm curious to see who the boxing opponent is, man. How high profile they are.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of. I actually did a piece recently for Sportskeeda where I went ahead and ran down potential opponents. Like, he said that it's not going to be one of the big ones. He said it's not going to be Wilder, it's not going to be Fury, and it's not going to be Joshua. So he said that he's looking for a tune-up. And like, when it comes to a tune-up, like, I don't know really what he means. Like, a tune-up for, Anthony Joshua is different than the tune-up for Francis Ngannou. Like, I don't know what he's gonna do. Like, I could see him fight. Like, I actually pitched one. I actually pitched a fight. Angel, you know who I think he should fight?
Otto Wallin.
No, because Otto Wallin will fuck him up. But I think it's one that nobody said. I think he should fight Marcelos Wilder, Deontay's little brother.
I didn't even know Deontay's little brother boxed.
His little brother, he has a record of 6-3. He's fought a couple of times on the undercard. He's not very good.
Is he active at all?
He fought in December, I think.
Okay, I was about to say, if he's not active, this is the most trolley pick in the world.
No, I genuinely think if he wants to score a fight with Wilder or Fury, and those two seem to be the most that he's in close contact with. If he wants to genuinely score a fight with either one of those, I think he needs to fight have a connection there, you know? Because just being the MMA guy is not been enough so far.
Dude, do you think he goes to the brother, Derek Chisora, and then a big fight?
I said he might go for Chisora, but I mean, I don't know. I don't think he wins that fight. I think it's too risky for him.
Who knows? I mean, it just depends what he wants to do, how confident he is. That's another thing we never talk about, dude. Like, how much does he believe in himself to actually do this? And he has to. He obviously has to, because, fuck, man, you're not just going to do this just to do it, without wanting to find some sort of success, I'd imagine,
Yeah.
And
look, and he's doing it the right way. He's taking so much time to try and make the move over. He's not trying to rush it, so that's good, but...
Who's he training with? Do we know?
I do not know, no.
Dude, what do you mean? His coach is Mike Tyson.
But, I mean, we'll see, though. We will see. I mean, ultimately, I think there's a lot of fights that they could do.
This is hype as fuck, man. I just can't wait for that big boxing event whenever it happens. It's going to be big, Josh. It will get pay-per-view buys.
I think people, that try to, you get all the UFC fanboys who don't understand, who've never stood up for anything in their life. And they're supporting the UFC over Ngannou. And I get,
yeah, dude,
he's not a big enough draw, Angel. He's not a big enough draw. But dude, Ngannou consistently pulls in 300,000 pay-per-views, and that would literally make him one of the top 10 boxing sells. That already makes him one of the top MMA sells. People have no idea. They think 300,000 is bad. 300,000 for a pay-per-view. Break even is 100,000. And for the UFC, break even, considering they don't pay their fighters shit, is more like 50. The one confirmed pay-per-view that we know for Ngannou is that was the fight against Seaver at 350. So, for reference, Gervonta didn't hit over 300,000 until he fought Ryan. And now he's the face of boxing. So there you go.
Right, allegedly.
No, you know what I'm saying though. That's what you're saying. So.
I know, I'm memeing.
You're trolling, I know. Yeah, man. I mean, we do have two more last quick hits to go ahead and go over. UFC 291 and UFC 292 were announced. Dana White got on his live stream, told everybody to watch Power Slap, and then told everybody what was actually important. UFC 291 going down July 29th, Delta Center, Salt Lake City, main event. Dustin the Diamond Poirier taking on Justin the Highlight Gaethje. These two fought back in April 2018 with Poirier picking up the win. They're now going to rerun it. And Angel, the BMF title is on the line, baby.
Let's
coming
go.
Back.
Is it actually?
It is. It's on the line.
Oh my fucking god. I guess
the vacant title.
The vacant title at 155.
Yeah, the vacant title at 155.
No, I mean I'm down for this.
Yeah, dude, same. I think that it's an excellent fight. I've been waiting for them to book it. However, I think the bigger thing is just
the two fights below it, by the way.
Yeah, by the way, the fights out, because not only is that fight going on, dude, you also have on the same card, you have Jan Blachowicz, Alex Bahia, Tony Ferguson, Bobby Green, Paulo Costa with Ikram Alisakharov, Stephen Thompson, Michelle Pahea, Derek Lewis, Marcos Rogerio de Lima, and Michael Chiesa versus Kevin Holland. Dude, for a random pay-per-view in late July, holy shit. What do you think, man? Top to bottom on this one.
Strong, man, strong. And it's not even done being filled out yet, right? I mean, that's the other thing. There only more can be added to it. By the way, Pahea, Blachowicz, dude, you're not even wrong. Alex is just, eternally wanting to ruin Izzy's mental. It's oh, you didn't beat Jan Blachowicz at 205? I will beat Jan Blachowicz at 205.
I'm pretty sure the only reason he took this fight is to make it even funnier if he fights Izzy again and wins,
I know, dude. It's the most trolly shit in the world. And, dude, instant high ranking. No, what is it, number 5, number 4 if he beats Blachowicz?
Yeah, he would be in the top 5.
That is insane. Again, man, that quick. And then Paulo Costa, Ikram Alisakharov. Bro, out of nowhere, right? UFC's like, something, fuck it. We couldn't get Chimaev? Here you go, Paulo. We'll give you your money, too.
Yeah, and we highlighted Ikram before his UFC debut, and it's really funny because now, the UFC knows that Ikram is the real deal, too. They want that Hamzat Chimaev rematch, too, my man, That's what they're looking for. It's not a coincidence. that they're booking this fight so quick.
Listen to this, Josh. Ikram is fighting at 185, a top opponent, quicker than Hazmat Chimaev has at 185.
Damn, I didn't think about that.
Yeah. Just to put it in perspective. By the way, finally, dude, after months and months of this fight being delayed, opponent changes, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, Michel Pereira, big time fight for Michel Pereira, hard fight for Stephen Wonderboy Thompson as well, who's obviously, we've seen him, he's older now, has had some tough fights, but also found some great success too in recent time.
Yeah, I mean, Wonderboy is an interesting guy. Admittedly, I don't know where he is in that stage of his career, because I really thought I didn't know if he was coming or he was going, and then, he had the fight with Kevin Holland where he just dominated, and it's like, I don't know, man. So this Michel Pereira fight, that's a great booking. I'm surprised they're on the prelims. I'm surprised that Tony Ferguson and Bobby Green are on the main card. I mean, we just talked about Tony Ferguson getting the DUI, Bobby Green coming off a controversy of his own. I'm surprised that they're putting those guys on the main card. I don't have a problem with it, but I'm just a little bit surprised, I guess. Yeah, man, I mean, this is a banger. This is a banger card, top to freaking bottom. But Angel, they also announced UFC 292 in the same live stream. They announced UFC 292 at the TD Garden, Boston, Massachusetts. August 19th. Main event: Aljamain Sterling versus Sean O'Malley. Co-main event: Zhang Weili versus Amanda Lemos. Very surprised that that's the fight for Weili Zhang. And also surprised that Aljamain Sterling is doing the quick turnaround, and then it was already confirmed that he has not even agreed to the fight. So, what do you think about UFC 292, though?
Dang, that's hilarious. They're like, "Yep, this is what's gonna happen."
Yeah, right. They kind of fucked him over, but he talked about in the MMA Hour. He said, like normally I'm not down for short notice fights, but hey, I know his weakness. He put the one time he was on his back, he looked like a fish out on land, So they're already getting the talk started. What do you think for the main event, we kind of knew that was happening. What do you think about Amanda Lemos for Zhang Weili next? I'm pretty surprised about that booking.
Yeah, they kind of fumbled the bag on this one, in my opinion. Not gonna lie to you, it's like, yeah, I mean, she lost to Jessica Andrade not that long ago, and Jessica has had 2 losses in a row right now. A win over Michelle Waterson and Marina Rodriguez, which, look, if Marina Rodriguez would have won her fight, 100% it should have been Marina Rodriguez, or they could have just done Marina Rodriguez, and they're like, something, fuck it. We fucked up. Let's just go Weili, Amanda Lemos. We're not going to try to delay Yan Xiaonan. And I guess the whole reason they went with her rather than Yan Xiaonan is the fact that Lemos is ready to go now, and they don't have to wait. But still, I mean, we'll be 8 months into the year, and Weili would have only got to fight one time, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I really think this is like their own issue. Like they booked themselves into a corner. Because realistically, I mean, Amanda Lemos, like they could have given her a title shot like a year ago, and it would have made more sense than it does now. You know what I mean? Before the Andrade loss, like they kind of booked themselves into a corner. Like they've had multiple contenders that they've just killed off because they wanted the same people. Like, oh, we have to have Yoan or Rose or Zhang Weili fight for the title again and again and again. And they've killed off multiple contenders in the process by doing it. Now this fight, Amanda Lemos, like I'm down for it.
Just watch them, Josh. They're gonna fucking make Rose fight Yan Xiaonan.
Don't say that.
Don't
you fucking say that, dude.
Don't even surprise. I'm putting it out there just so everybody knows. Don't be surprised. You heard it here first on the Courtside Soundoff podcast. On what episode is this now? I don't even know which one it is.
214, 215, I don't know.
Episode 214, 215. I can't think of it off the top of my head. Don't be surprised if the UFC books Yan Xiaonan versus Doug Rose. Just you hear it first. They could have had the China event, but they're going to ruin it. You guys will see. Unless Yan Xiaonan beats Rose, if they do end up booking. Obviously, this is like without knowing anything. But I'm just saying, don't be fucking surprised. Because they're not going to rebook Rose versus fucking Carla Esparza, even though technically that's what they probably should do. Since they're both coming off losses.
Yeah, I mean they aren't exactly the greatest at making any sort of intelligent decision lately. The UFC matchmaking. Like I want to save this topic for a couple of weeks from now, whenever we have a break in the UFC, which I believe actually it would just be next week, right? Yeah, next week we're gonna have a break. I want to talk about the state of the UFC, but yeah, man, I feel like this fight, like this is another one of those fights that like kind of perfectly encapsulates, like that they really just it's not that they don't care, it's just like they're on autopilot, you know? Like they don't really actually I think that's the perfect way to put it. They don't really care. They're making their money, they're on autopilot. They have the same Contender Series guys coming in that'll last for 3 months and then they'll cut them, you know what I mean? Like they're in that phase where they've made their money and they don't care. So that's why you get booking decisions like these ones. But what do you think? I mean, that's kind of all we really got. Any closing thoughts on UFC 292 or 291 before we go ahead and close out, man?
Not too much of what we just mentioned, man. I think we highlighted it as best as we can without going too in depth with it because we always like saving our kind of super deep thoughts and predictions for the week itself.
Say that again?
We try to save our thoughts, like major, predictions and opinions for the night itself.
Yeah, you cut out for me with it. Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, man, I like talking about these fights, but I also don't because, like, man, I'm so psyched. But then it's like, dude, these guys aren't fighting until August, so I mean, there's not really a whole lot to say. But yeah, I mean, in terms of the show, I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm at Josh Evanoff on Twitter. He's at Angel Ortega _01. Keep an eye out because next week there is no UFC. We'll submit on Monday. I will put up a thing about fan questions or any fan ideas for the show. So go ahead and keep an eye on that as well as also on probably TikTok and Twitter. But, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Courtside Sound for all things related to the show. And hope you guys enjoyed. Shout out Rogue Energy and ELYXR Courtside Soundoff for both. Peace and bug grease. Mouse click.